Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle. I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Michael Reed. Hall will be here very, very shortly. You know, he's just coming off of baby duty, so he's got priorities, right? Priorities. But I know he's not going to miss this one. The title of tonight's episode is The Thoroughbred. That being said, the Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. And joining us on this very special occasion, there's a reason why it's the title of tonight's episode, is former Redskins running back, Mr. Alfred Morris. Thank you for joining us tonight, Alfred. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I can't express to you how many great memories that we have seeing you run back there in the Burgundy and Gold. You know, overall, 70 games started, over 6,000 yards rushing, 35 touchdowns, and in your career, you averaged 4.3 on the ground. So, but that being said, first and foremost, going back to that 2012 year, what was that like for you?
Oh, it was a blur. It was fun, exciting. It also was just crazy because it was like a dream come true once, first of all, and there was a lot of adjustments going on. I mean, there was moments I'm like, oh shoot, that's Peyton Manning. Like I'm like, oh, I gotta clock in. Like I came here for a reason. I need to perform. I need to do my job. So I had to kind of like almost. But it was times I was like, man, like I grew up watching these guys. So it was it was fun. It was exciting, and it was a crazy roller coaster ride.
Like how early did you know that you were going to be starting? Because obviously Kyle Shanahan and Coach Shanahan did a very good job of keeping the offense under wraps. Not that many people knew what was going to be transpiring early on in that season. Obviously, you guys blew the lids off everybody throughout that season. But like, how early did you know going into it that you were going to be starting?
Well, I found out the week of,
Wow.
and they kind of coach called me to his office. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna go with you for the start." I'm like, "Oh shoot, okay, all right, thanks." I think the only person I think I told my dad was the only person that actually told us, "Hey, I'm not supposed to say anything, but like I'm gonna start tomorrow, on the game day." And so I was like super excited, but also was kind of like, "Oh man, this is like a big moment." So it's my
Right.
first actual NFL game, and I'm actually gonna start it, which I never thought that was gonna happen. So not the first one anyway. I knew eventually I'd start, but I didn't think the first game, my first actual game, I'd be the starter.
And then prolonged it to a 9-year career where you really
Yeah.
made a name for yourself. I mean, my goodness, it's absolutely insane. But like playing with that RG3 in that system, what was it like playing under Kyle Shanahan, who obviously now is the head coach of the 49ers?
Yeah.
But like me personally, I believe the guy is an offensive kind of genius. What was it like for you working under Kyle Shanahan?
I mean, it was super cool. He like if I can go back, I wish I could have like had a vet to kind of like more seasoned vet to kind of steer me. But Kyle would give me, he was like, "Hey, if you want certain things, like let me know, and like we'll make it work." I'm like, "Oh no, just run what you run." Like I'm good. Like just call the plays and I'll run it. So I didn't know like it's the freedom he was giving me, and I didn't realize that until later in my career, and I didn't have that same thing. I was like, dang, like Kyle was really trying to like set me up to do what I wanted to do. So he had that trust in me. So it was fun. Like, man, he's an offensive guru, a great mind. I really want him to get a Super Bowl. He's been so close to me times. Like, you got to get you a Super Bowl. But I mean, even that whole coaching staff, it was just fun to be around to watch how his dad was and see how he was. I mean, there's four head coaches from that coaching staff. Like right now in the NFL, which is like super crazy. So it was really fun, and I think it helped develop me and set me on the right course for I guess the longevity of my career.
Yeah, now that obviously it's been a couple years since you've been in the NFL, what are your hobbies now? What's keeping you busy now?
Man, I'm still trying to figure it out. I mean, I love being outdoors though.
Okay.
I mean, I do this like event called High Rocks. I just do it the one here. I'm in the Dallas area now, so I do whatever. They have one here in November every year, so I do that. I mean, I spend time with my family. That's my biggest thing. But anything outdoors, man, fishing,
Okay.
anything off road. I just do whatever. Anything outside, I just love being outside. So that's what occupies most of my time.
Dude, I'm telling you that ever since I heard about that Ted Nugent thing there in Texas, where you take the helicopter ride and you go hog hunting in the helicopter, I've always wanted, like, dude, that sounds so awesome. But I'm
It
sure.
does, it does, and they do it at night and they have like night vision. I've heard of it. I have
What?
buddies who actually did it, but I've never done it. But I want to do it. But yeah, one day. Yeah,
One day, one day.
yeah,
But
yeah.
a good friend of our show, Alfred, that we've had many, many times, and personally, like, we love him to death. Logan Paulson. What
Mm.
kind of talk about, like, me
Mhm.
personally? I got made fun of by my friends for saying how important Logan Paulson was to that season. Reed would make fun of me included. But just what was your kind of interactions with Logan like?
Man, I love Logan. Logan, he was like a family man. He was like one of those guys who take you under the wing and just kind of show you the ropes. And so I enjoyed my time around him. But he was like whatever he needs to do. He didn't care about the fame or care about scoring touchdowns. He just wanted to do whatever it was to help the team. It's like kind of like those utility guys. And like I mean, he was important to a lot of our blocking schemes. We use a lot of tight ends, whether they were coming across the formation, whether they were one on one with DN pass rushers, people who are known to get to the ball. And I think he was one of those guys that took onus of that and like really made it like an important part of like what he did, and that helped us out in the run game amongst other things. And then he still could catch too. So like I said, he wasn't like flashy or glistening. He wasn't a Jordan Reed, but
Right.
route somebody up and go the distance. But he was like solid, get to the stick, get the ball, get you first down, keep the chains moving. He was passionate. So man, I haven't thought about Logan in a while, man. He's awesome. I
Mhm.
love that dude, man.
Logan's the man. Yeah, yeah. Logan's super close. We've had Logan on for years. Logan's
Man,
the
that's
best.
cool. Yeah,
Anthony Armstrong told us Logan was a little weirdo. He was like Logan's an odd dude. I was
yeah.
like, yeah, I can see that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But you were part of those teams though that had some insane coaching staffs. I mean, it's been talked about at nauseum, obviously, with like Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Kevin O'Connell, some of those guys that have just come from this branch or from the Redskins. Did you have any inkling at all, like that some of these guys were going to end up being successful? Like McVay with how young he was, like he was like your guy's
Well, McVay, I had a better idea only because like he was the offensive coordinator there
right?
with Jay. So I kind of got saw I'm like, oh dang, this dude's like sharp, like. But I know they all ran together. Sean, Mike, Kyle, they've been running together for so long. Matt, LaFleur, and I was like, they all kind of do the same thing, and they just have their little niches. They tweak the offense, but they're running the same thing. Like at the end
Right.
of the day,
Right.
but no. Other than that, like one of the craziest one is still Mike McDaniel's. I love Mike. Mike Me
Yeah.
and Mike spent a lot of time in the film room. I remember him showing me clips of Frank Gore. Frank Gore and how he took his steps on the power road to kind of put himself in position to get in phase. I spent a lot of time breaking down film with Mike. But and I was with him in San Fran for a year, and I still
Yeah.
be like, they gave Mike a head coach job. That is crazy. But like like people always like, man,
He's
is he
good.
really like that? I'm like, what you see on TV, what you see him like, that is Mike McDaniels. He
Right.
is not acting. That is who he is. And it was like, man,
Yeah.
I love Mike. I'm so happy for him, but I still be like, Mike is a head coach. I
That's
can't
crazy.
believe that, man.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
He looks like Logic. He looks a
He
lot like Logic.
does. Oh, that's a good
He's,
one. That's a
yeah.
good one.
He's funny though. He seems cool. I know he's really good friends with that comedian Dan Soder. They grew up together or something. Dan Soder's always he's like, man, if you guys knew Mike, basically the same thing. He's like, I
Yeah.
did not expect that guy to be a
Yeah,
head coach, but I'm
yeah.
happy for him. He's good at it. So
Yeah, yeah.
Now, Alfred, to bring this back to this year, like the similarities, I would say just with the rookie quarterback, obviously there are differences there, here and there throughout
Mm.
the team. But with this Washington Commanders team, with they're on now, obviously in 2012, you guys did make it to the playoffs, or able to get into the playoff game. Washington very well is in the driver's seat, be able to get to the playoffs and win a
Yeah, yeah.
game. What do you have any advice for the players with these last couple games? Because obviously that playoff cloud is going to be looming over you. Do you have any advice for the guys during this last four stretch?
Man, it's something I was always told as a young player, and I always stuck with me. It's like it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I think one of the main differences I see, like in 2012, we were like by week we were 3-6, and we won a 7-game winning streak, and that's what put us in a great position to make the playoffs. I think they're in a way better position than we were. I feel like they have clicked sooner than what we did. Because like I said, it wasn't until we had a bye week, we were 3-6.
Right.
Like we kind of was like, oh, this season's a wash, almost. But we stayed together. We fought for each other. Like you have to be selfless. I think that what helps, kind of move the needle forward, and you don't have to worry about that looming like what if, like playoff, maybe, maybe not. Doesn't matter. Like let's go out there for each other. Let's go out there and play the ball that we know how to play, and like let's do this thing. So you have to. It needs to be like a tight unit in order to do that. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about the 2012 team is, yeah, we won 7 games in a row, which is not easy to do. But at the same time, it's like if we didn't have that connection off the field, I don't think we would have been able to do that on the field. So I think they just need to stay together, be a family, stay together, like ride for each other, and just be selfless.
Right. And speaking of, I mean, kind of similarities from this team to some of your teams, especially 2012. I mean, obviously, there's a similarities between RG3 and Jayden Daniels, just like the number 2 overall pick, the Heisman winners, the mobile aspect, the big arms. Yeah. What do you see from them that are similar, and what do you see that are different?
It's just that. I mean, I think it's just I think one of the things they missed, and let's say, is the run game. I'm just kidding.
Hey, you should have been, honestly, look, I know RG3 is a quarterback. Obviously, I'm thankful for RG3. You, even a Cowboys friend of mine during your rookie season was like, your guys, I know RG3 didn't praise. Alfred Morris is your guys' best player. And I was like, I'm not going to deny that. That's an insane rookie season.
Yeah, it was one of those things that we helped each other. I think they do a really good job of moving the ball around. I think they have some great receivers. I feel like when we played, we had Pierre, but other than that, we didn't have any like big name guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Aldrick Robinson. You know?
Yeah, I mean Aldrick was
he made big plays,
but like it wasn't household names. Like Pierre Garçon was the only household name we had. So I think they have like that. That's one of the differences. I think they do a really good job of moving the ball around. And like I said, I think they're clicking way sooner than we ever did. I think it would have been if we would have clicked meshed the way they are. I don't know why that is. I think bye week we would have been sitting in a better position than what we were. We had to go on that run in order to make the playoffs. So I think overall, I mean, if I had to pick a team, I would say in ways they're better than us, honestly. So which is exciting, not just for the fan base and for us coming. So yeah.
My man. And then obviously Brian Robinson getting shot twice a couple years ago, coming back from that and really having a career year himself, almost double-digit touchdowns at this point. What do you see from Brian Robinson as a running back that just makes him, besides obviously his style and the toughness that he brings, but what does he do as a running back?
I mean, I think one of the hardest things for a running back to do. First of all, I didn't know that he got shot. That's interesting. Not to look that story up.
He came back. He came back to Many Men for 50 Cent when he came back on the field.
That's dope. Okay, that's dope. Okay, I'm definitely going to look that up. I didn't know that about him, but I think one of the things that set running backs apart is their vision. I think he has a really good vision, and I know there's a lot of really good running backs. And I would argue, I'm not going to say names, but I'm like, yeah, he was really good, but he didn't have vision. And I think that really helps you being able to get in phase with your blockers. Like one of the things I was talking about with Mike, doing those things, it's a difference between a 2-3 yard gain and a 10+ yard gain. It's really just finding those folks that there for a split second and they're gone. So you have to just kind of ride the wave and find one person out of position and you exploit that. And then once you get to the second level, it's up to you to make it go from there. But I think he has really good vision. I think a lot of running backs don't have that, and I think that's what's helping them out a lot. So
my man. And now we are joined by our other co-host, Mr. Michael Hall. What's up, brother? Do you have a question for Alfred?
Man, I didn't even come prepared.
Hey, congrats on the baby, man.
I appreciate it. I was gonna say I was doing baby stuff, so I was not even
that's fine.
I appreciate it though.
It's always hard because you're like, what has already been asked? I know I'm going to ask the same question as somebody else.
That's it.
All right, let me start then with one of the players that you faced in the playoffs that year, Alfred, was Bobby Wagner. And obviously him being the middle linebacker here for Washington, you got to play him after the 2012 year, of course. But what was it like going against Bobby Wagner, who luckily we have on our team now?
Yeah, he was a heck of a player. Funny story, me and Bobby actually trained for the combine together. We went to IMG.
Yeah. I forgot he came out your year.
Yeah, we had which I smelled. I'm like, Bobby still playing? I'm like, dang, man. Man, I need to warm back up and get back out there. But no, he's really smart. I always I loved how smart he was. There was 2 linebackers for sure, and I know I'm kind of diverting a little bit, I'm coming back. That kind of I love playing against, but they annoyed the heck out of me. One of them is Sean Lee, another one is Bobby Wagner. So they're just really smart. They're always in the right position. I see the hole, and I'm like, I'm going, and all of a sudden it's I hit the ground. I'm like, where the freak you come from? I was going. I was about to get in the secondary. So, and all of a sudden it's they're there. So it's just, I think he's a really smart player. I think he's a hard player. And I think, as you can see in the years with them in Seattle, that he does a really good job of rallying the defense around himself, so to speak. So having people in the right position, he's so smart. He's like, hey, this guy out of position, let me put you back. He's the quarterback of the defense in my eyes. And so I love that, but also it's annoying because I'm like, dang, it's gonna be a rough day for me today. Because like I'm gonna have to really play the game within the game to get where I need to be so I can help my team win.
I mean, that's also kind of how London Fletcher was. I mean, that's exactly how he was. I mean, just like he knew what was coming. There's nothing you could do that was going to fool London Fletcher.
Yeah.
Like he knew what was going on. But you mentioned Sean Lee. And look, this is a sore subject for us. I can't believe I'm about to bring this up. Why'd you do it? I'm just kidding. What was it like going to Dallas after playing in Washington for so long?
Yeah, it was so out of all, and I most people know it was like all the play. That was the one place I didn't want to go. Honestly,
Right.
like seriously,
Yeah.
and I
audio
was
clip that. Audio clip that. Post it on Cowboys.
It was seriously though. My wife was. I was like, man, I'd never go play there. And she was like, you should be careful. She's like, every time you say that, and I'm like, oh shoot, you're right. I was like, you know what? I would love to go play there. I think it was too late after that. But that's still a mystery. I think I thought it was like most people ask me. I'm like, I have no idea what happened. Like Washington offered me a contract like in preseason, third game preseason. I think we were playing the Ravens, and it was like, if I was like, hey, you going to accept it? I'm like, no, like it's obvious, like you lowball. So I'm thinking we're gonna like it's negotiations. You go like they're gonna counter offer. I'm like, okay, no, that's way too low. And then so counter offer, they never countered offer me. They start pulling me from the games and stuff, and it was just like I was like, what's happening? But still, even after the season, like they didn't even call. Like they didn't even try to like.
God damn.
Yeah, man, it was like it's still I don't know what happened till this day.
Being a 6th round pick too, and not making as much like right off the bat. I mean, just where you're drafted, and then going out there and consistently producing like you did. That's such a man.
It was rough. I mean, I had to make my peace with it, but like I struggled with that for a long time because I not only like performed on the field, but off the field as well. Like I did all I could for those 4 years. I did every single community service, not because I wanted to pat on the back, because I always said like when I get to a place, like I'm gonna be that guy. Like I'm gonna make sure I give back. Not when, not if, but when I get there. So I always had that mindset. It's like I'm gonna give back. So I was one of the 4 guys. It was me. It was DY. It was Josh. Josh Morgan and what's the cornerback? Josh Wilson. Like the 4 of us, we did every single one.
At least 2 of those guys are local. Josh Morgan and Josh Wilson are both from the area, so like they already had ties in the community. Yeah, they were doing stuff. So like for you to go out there and do that, that says something.
Yeah, so it was really hard in a lot of ways, but like I said, I made my peace with it, and it is what it is.
Hey, at least you're still watching us. At least you don't hate us,
I mean, it's hard. I got 5 kids, so I watch when I can. Right. Like, so I know we get the local stuff. I'm in Texas, so I see a lot of the Texas and Dallas games or whatever. When I do watch, a lot of times, man, I don't watch as much as I used to. It's just like I'm trying to, like really immerse myself with my family and something like that. Until my thinking, oh yeah, let's watch football. Like, come on, like most of the time I'm like throwing the ball around or chasing a kid or doing stuff like that. So just to have those moments, like when he's like, oh, can we watch football? I'm like, oh dang, I didn't even think about that. Like I'm so immersed in the family. So yes, I don't watch as much as I used to, but I watch enough though. I've been paying attention. I got to come to one of the games. I came up to the Panthers game. It was a blowout. I was like, dang, they were cooking. Yeah, so
you came to a good one. I will say that.
Yeah.
Paul, did you cook something up yet?
Yeah, I got one. You asked like a Jay Gruden question yet?
No.
All right, well, how was Jay Gruden as a head coach and just as an offensive mind? Because a lot of people around, like the local fans or whatever, they still hold a grudge with Jay Gruden. I mean, they hold a lot of grudges from a lot of the past, like regimes and whatnot. But just like me personally, I think Jay Gruden was like a really like smart offensive guy. I see him breaking down film and talking football on the radio and like on Twitter or whatnot. So how is he as like an offensive mind?
Oh, I think he was just that. Like you hit the nail on the head. I think he was a really good offensive mind. I see why he's the head coach and like some of the positions he put us in. I think there was just so much going on outside of the building and around the building that it was really hard. And I think he came in not the best of situations, and I think that didn't help him. One of the only things I didn't like about you, I feel like he was too buddy. I feel like it needed to be a distinction. Like I'm the head coach, I'm not your friend. Like it's cool to be like, jaw jack and stuff like that, but it's like, hey, bro, you gotta be my coach. Like I don't need a homeboy. I got plenty of those. You know what I mean? So it's just like I need you to be my coach. So I feel like that's the only knock I had against him. But other than that, like he's a heck of a smart guy. I mean, he definitely should have a job. I know. Like I think he came into like not really a good situation, and he was fighting an uphill battle, so to speak. So I just don't think it was the best time for him to come in. I think it would be a different outcome if he would have came in at a different point in time in Washington.
Was it a big adjustment going from somebody like Mike Shanahan to Jay?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was similar in ways. It was a different offense, but I feel like a lot of the language was very similar, so it was an easy transition. Now, I did a little stint in Arizona and with Cliff Kingsbury, and that was like totally different. It'd be like, Clifford Red bingo, and I'm like, wait, what the what? Like, what is that? I'm like, give me I write 43, whatever. Give me that formation. Give me like 43 is a week. Like, come on, like give me that. Like, I don't understand this. Like, just words. It's like it's college. It's like this is a pros, man. Like, give me like an actual offensive play. So, anyways, but yeah, that was different. But no, Jay, I think it was like pretty seamless once we learned his lingo, and it was most of it was just the same, man. Honestly.
Right.
And what was your because you kind of brought it up already, but I only have a couple more questions for you. Hall, if you want to take one, that's fine. I know you got here late, but you brought up Cliff Kingsbury. What was your kind of takeaway from working with Cliff Kingsbury for that 1 year?
I mean, I think he's an offensive mind too. I can see why the draw pulled him into the NFL. I think him too, like it's just a different situation. I think if he was with a different team that ran like the organization differently, it was interesting watching how Arizona ran the organization compared to Washington, compared to Dallas, compared to San Fran. It was like button up, suit and tie. Just like I feel like he could have went to a different situation and would have been more successful early on. I know he's doing really good now, but I think it wasn't. And then it happens with coaches, it happens with players, it happens with GMs. It's like sometimes it's the wrong place, wrong time. And other than I don't have a knock. I think he was really smart. Like once I kind of got his like lingo, his college I think he was trying to bring the college to pros, and I think now he's probably like shifting it. I don't know. I would have to talk to the guys to see if he's still doing that, like words, paint the picture type deal. And it's like, because then like those 3-4 words tell you there's your route concept, there's your protection, do this, and it's just like it wasn't clicking for me. I'm like, it did, but I'm like, bro, like this is hard. It's so different from what I had. But I think other than that, I think he's a heck of a mind too. And I mean, I can see why they pulled him up to NFL. I can see why his draw was. So yeah, but no, I have nothing bad to say about him.
My man, that's a lot of people would probably say that about that offense, especially going back to Arizona. But the current coaching staff, Dan Quinn, obviously everyone knows him from the Seattle defensive coordinator days and going to Atlanta. Have you had any interactions with anybody on the coaching staff, like running back coach Anthony Lynn or Dan Quinn? Have you had any interactions of what you've heard about them as coaches?
No, I haven't. Anthony Lynn, I crossed paths with him somewhere, but I can't remember why. Like, because I remember his name, I remember his face, but I can't remember where. But Dan Quinn, no, I think.
Could it have been San Francisco? Wasn't Anthony Lynn in San Francisco for a little bit?
Not when I was there. Bobby T's still out there. So, I could have crossed like pre-draft stuff, like whether it was like at the combine or whether it's like I don't think he came and worked me out, but I talked to a few people on the phone. I know. But yeah, he was with KC. I can't think of his name, like some Carson or something. Anyways, but no, I know his name, but I can't I have to jog my memory to remember where exactly I crossed paths with him. But not coached. I've never been coached by any of those guys, so I don't know much about him.
My man, and the last question I have for you. Let's talk about your vehicle. Do you still currently own it?
Yeah, I do. It's actually sitting outside in the driveway right now. I still drive it, man. People still like, I can't believe you still drive that car.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like, why wouldn't I? It works. I have no car payment. It runs well. The only thing I can't drive in the rain because it's silver and people here, I don't know, it's everywhere. I've never had it this bad, maybe because I didn't pay much attention, but it's like they cannot see me. It's like I blend in. If it's like gloomy and rainy, they like merge and almost see me. I have to put on brakes all the time. So I just don't even drive. When it's raining, I was like, yeah, I'm not even driving that. Like, so, but I have a Grand Cherokee, so I have an SUV like that my family can fit into. Because my wife has a Sprinter van, so we can't park in garages a lot. So just jump in that and kind of if we go in somewhere that has a parking garage. So
my man,
I got one more real fast.
Okay.
If you were gonna go get into a fight with somebody tonight and you could pick one former teammate, who is it and why is it Trent Williams? not the fight, but to have your back.
Oh, you said somebody like to get in a fight with me or
somebody to have your back.
Pierre Garçon, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Like if you, I don't know if we can find some old clips of it, but like Pierre was like as a dog. Pierre is really quiet, mild mannered. He's just kind of like, I'm just here on the field. Like he flipped the switch, and that dude was crazy. He was straight up patient. But like people be like, they'd be dog calling me, like, get off my dog, get off of him. He'd be like blowing people off and like D line, and I was like, all right, Pierre, that's my dog, man. I would love it. Like I know he's gonna ride with me, so I love Pierre, man.
And then he's got that fang mouthpiece too.
Yeah,
He
was angry, just spin the
one.
ball out, angry, and like beat his chest. I was like, man, Pierre, that dude, man.
Yeah, your 4 years here in Washington, like obviously you were 1,600 yards, 1,400 yards, 1,200 yards. Who was your favorite lineman to run behind when you was getting the rock?
Ooh, that's tough. Honestly, it was Chris Chester. Chris Chester, him and Monty, but Chris Chester mainly because if I can get in phase with him, it's like when I'm saying phase, it's like if he's because we ran a zone offense, so a lot of that is like it's like a moving. You're trying to move the line of scrimmage,
right.
so to speak. And so when you do that, like if I'm a running back, if this is my guard, and I wish I had a better visual thing, but anyway, so if I'm ahead of my puller, like the one that's like kind of pitch hinging and he's pulled the center's hinged back and he pulls around. If I'm ahead of him or even just in a regular zone, if they're just flowing, if I'm not in phase with him, like I'm probably gonna get a short gain or I'm gonna get tripped up by D lineman because all it is trying to move people out of their gaps and allow them to lose their gap integrity. So you have to just really stay in flow. So a lot of our runs were inside, inside zone or outside, even outside zone. It was like, but I mean, Trent was there. I can't not mention Trent. Trent would like move bodies, like for real. He would be like hook him, and I could read him really well. But Chris was one, whether it's inside or outside zone, I always had to pick him up. So I always watched what he was doing and followed him a lot. And I know he was going to do his job, and he did it at a high level. So he was one of my favorite guys to remember. Funny, he actually lives not far from me. So
nice.
So yeah. So he's out here in Texas too. So good dude, man. I love that dude too, man. So
my man,
fond memories.
Tell him we said what's up, we miss all 71. But I know I told you I had a last question, but really quick. Playing with Robert, what is something about Robert? What is something about Robert that not many people know about Robert?
I don't know. The first thing that popped in my mind is that he was a All-American hurdler, but I think a lot of people know that now. Yeah, he was freshman All-American, which is super crazy.
Jesus Christ, that dude is such a crazy athlete.
So but I'm trying to. I'm gonna just leave it at that one. I have to go back to try to figure out something that people know about him. But yeah, I just leave a lot of people. I remember when I'm like, wait, what? Like, I was like, okay, all right, this dude a Heisman winner, All-American, dual sport All-American. Like, oh man, all right.
Yeah, he was a track star. He really was a phenomenal athlete. Last one, what was your most memorable, probably favorite game in Washington?
Well, I mean, I can't not say the last game of regular season versus Cowboys.
I was about to say, rush for 200 yards.
I do have one moment that I mean, we played Giants. I think it was my second year there. And I ended up I fumbled, I landed on my shoulder weird, and the ball popped out. I let it go because I landed on my shoulder, and I tried to get it, but they took it. And anyways, to seal the game, they gave the ball back to me, and I felt like that was immense responsibility. That one, they trusted me, and two, I was like, I'm going to seal this game. And it's one of my favorite pictures. I have it on a canvas. It was after I got that first down, I was like, I was just so juiced, and I was just like, man, I was like, these guys got my back, man. I love that they did. I'm a young guy. I think it's my rookie year actually, because it was a night game. It was a Monday night, and we ended up beating them by it was 16-14, something like that. I can't remember the score, but I mean that flashing back to the actual one, the Dallas game, that was a fun game. I mean, I couldn't feel my feet. A lot of stuff, I looked back at some of the film, I was like, I don't know how I was doing. And I could not, my feet were so cold. I couldn't warm them up. And I was out there, and I just remember, I do remember I wrote down on the note card, 200 plus yards, 3 touchdowns, before the game. And I was I remember as I was like, oh shoot. Cause technically I had 213 yards, but I had a couple of losses and it put me back at 200. But I technically did what I said I was going to do. And I wrote it down on this, like a Gaylord the note card they had by the beds. And I just was sitting there thinking, I'm like, man, I don't know. I just feel like I should write this down. And it actually happened. So that was a heck of a game, man.
That's nuts.
And that was a big one too, because I'm like, that sealed our playoff fate. And I was just like, and they rolled me to it, and I was just like, Roddy's like, but I still couldn't feel my feet. So that's another story.
I think you made me pee my pants that night. I was so excited. Literally. So that's on you. Everybody that made fun of me, everybody that jokes on me, everybody that's launching the PA personal attacks, that was Alfred's fault.
Absolutely was. Alfred, I can't thank you enough for doing this, man. This was such a pleasure being able to talk to you, get to know you a little bit. I know you got to get out of here, get back to your family and everything, brother. But I just wanted to say, well, we still love you over here in Washington. We still care deeply about your brother, and I'm glad to see you've made a good relationship with the team again. I saw that you were on with the command center not too long ago, but not allowing the let's just say the airheads from before kind of ruin things. I really appreciate you for doing that, man.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah. Man. I'm always gonna be a Redskin. So there's that.
we all
Doug Williams said it on here once, so that's cool. It's fine.
Yeah. I don't identify with the commander. Sorry.
It's tough. It's tough. You're one of the only players from like recent that like no matter what, every fan is like Alfred Morris. That's the guy. Like RG3, like there's still some turmoil there and stuff. Sometimes with some fans where it's like tough, but like Alfred Morris, it's like Alfred Morris. He gets it.
Yeah. It was tough going to Dallas, man, but it was just part of the journey. I didn't want to go there, but
it's a business, man.
I remember coming back the first game. I scored a touchdown. People like flicking me off. Like, my fault. He did that.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie to you.
I know it's love. Though.
When you hit that home run ball in the end zone, that hurt. That hurt, man.
I could not do it. I didn't want to, man. But I was like, it's my signature. I gotta do it. I actually debated it. So that's funny. That you said that, and I was like, man, I can't. Like, I got to do that. I got to knock the bar.
I would have been. If we didn't want you to know, we should have stopped you from scoring. That's what
absolutely. Exactly. Alfred, go and enjoy your night, man. This was an absolute blast. I can't thank you enough, man.
Yeah, have me on again, man. Just hit me up.
My man, will do. Definitely. I really do appreciate it, man. Right. Have a good one. Have a happy holiday as well to you and your family.
Merry Christmas, man. Happy New Year.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man. I mean, that was absolutely awesome.
And I wish I could have got on here earlier, man.
I feel like a little girl right now.
He seems cool as hell.
But speaking of, with one A-lister out, another A-lister is about to take out too. Because I don't sit here. My contract's I'm only supposed to be here when A-listers are here. I'm not supposed to sit here with a B-lister Hall and a C-lister Kyle.
Yeah. Well,
you go. No, I got the long drive home, man.
Yeah, sure. Whatever you say. Go work the corner. Go make your money,
baby.
We got you.
I gotta go. Hold on. I'm a lot lizard now. That's my. I'm sucking boys, not boys.
All right, dude. Peace out. All right, everybody. So we got a couple fan questions to get into. We're going to kind of highlight the game this weekend upcoming against the Saints. I did a interview with Matthew Paris, a good friend of this show that we've had on before, beat reporter now for covering the Saints, that I have a 16-minute interview with him that we'll play at the end of this episode. But before we get into that, we kind of want to get into some fan questions and answer those. But Hall, what's your first takeaway after interviewing Alfred?
Just seeing he seems like a real chill, real cool ass dude. There's someone that you could just like meet up with. Like I know he said you don't really watch the ball like that because he's like tied up with family and whatnot, but he just seems like one of them dudes where you just can kick it on the couch, throw on Red Zone, throw on a game, and just talk and just kick it and chill for a couple hours, and you won't even end up talking about football. You just talk about life and just other things because he just seems real down to earth, real chill dude, and definitely. I mean, I was only on here for like a couple minutes talking to him, but definitely like one of the better, more like I said, chill guests that we've had on here before.
If we didn't hate, no, I'm not gonna say hate, severely disliked BA before, I certainly do now. Because obviously I talked to you guys. I was like, I kind of want to ask Alfred why Dallas, And hearing that made me angry. I'm not going to lie. Because
what would you expect from a guy like Bruce Allen?
I know, just very vindictive, that kind of like emotional kind of thinking way. It's like, come on, dude. What are you doing?
Couldn't even get Kirk Cousins' name right. What do you expect?
I know. It's just kind of ridiculous. That was a big takeaway for me personally. It's just the fact that, and then the other thing is the fact that like, how invested he was into explaining what he saw as a running back and what Chris Chester kind of brought just shows you the love for football and wanting to actually correctly articulate what he's thinking and saying. And I that was That was definitely up there for one of the most favorite interviews that we've ever done.
It's funny you said Chris Chester because that's probably the last person I thought he would actually was going to say.
Dude, the
Other
old man
offensive
could
lineman.
play, bro.
Oh,
He
I
was
know. Trust me, he was one of them guys where he would never stand out for an amazing play, but he was just a solid guy that you like you said, you knew he was going to do his job, play in and play out. So it actually makes sense, especially running the zone stuff and running behind him 24/7. So, but yeah, shout out to Chester, man.
absolutely. Now let's get into some fan questions. But before, just want to say Noah Brown obviously is going to be out for the foreseeable future. We don't know how long, but he has a kidney issue.
I think
Dan
they were
Quinn
saying, it's probably
labeled
gonna be
it as an
season-ending.
internal kind of injury, which is kind of scary to think about. But everything is okay now, apparently. So prayers out to Noah. He's going to be a huge loss, especially in the run game, which goes into our question from Deluxe in the Discord. He says, a lot of talk about Lattimore in the passing game. What impact could Lattimore have on the run defense? Do we see heavier boxes this week against Kamara?
Yeah, I would say yes, just because, especially with I'm not going to try to, because obviously they're NFL players, but compared to other receiving cores throughout the league and other receivers throughout the league, you could probably say that New Orleans doesn't have a true, I mean, they have Olave, but he's in concussion protocol. But they don't have a true, scary threat on the outside. Like you have Marquez, Valdez Scantling, who's on the outside, but he's more of just only a deep threat. He's going to go run the go routes, the deep overs, the deep crosser routes, stuff like that. He's not a real route tree guy. He's going to run every single route, possession receiver. He's really almost kind of like a one trick pony type of receiver. So I would say that definitely with a team that only has a one real legit offensive weapon in Kamara, they're going to be probably starting if not a rookie quarterback, then a backup quarterback in Hayner or Rattler. And so they're going to rely on that running game and Kamara to kind of bleed the clock out, try to make it a real physical game up front and keep the ball away out of Jayden Daniels in this offense. So I would say that with Lattimore, you can definitely be able to stack the box a little bit, say, hey, Chen or Quan Martin, whoever it might be playing safety, come down in the box, get 8 guys, maybe even 9 guys in the box, stop the run game, and make Jake Hayner or Spencer Rattler and Marquez, Valdez Scantling, and whoever else the receivers are beat you on the outside.
Yeah, with Lattimore in particular, I'm not looking at this in just this purely against the Saints kind of aspect. But Andy Lockhart, they were discussing earlier what our biggest weakness on defense is, and they were saying it's the run defense, which obviously the stats correlate that. Right now, Washington's defense are 27th in rushing yards and 5th in passing yards on defense. And so immediately in my mind, I would say the biggest weakness that we have on defense is stopping big play passes. And look at our losses that we've had against these teams. And they've had some big plays being able to help them pole vault us in scoring. And so me personally, and they were saying, how is, Andy was like, that's crazy. How are you going to say that? It's run defense. My point being is it almost seems like Witt has had to dedicate an extra guy in the back end to stop the big play passes from happening. Whereas if you're able to put in Lattimore to kind of take away that threat of deep ball where you're more comfortable with Lattimore out there, you might be able to put an extra guy down in that box. And they're thus being able to stop more of the rushing yards that are happening. Because in my personal opinion, in our losses, it hasn't been the run defense. It's being able to stop even our close wins and our losses. Like we've talked about this, we allow teams back in. They were able to score points based on a big play when they don't have to liquidate the clock. I want you to run the ball in the second half if we have the lead, because then you're going to liquidate the clock and put more pressure on yourself. If you allow quick, easy, big points to happen, it's going to be better for you to get back into the game. And so I think ultimately, Lattimore definitely will help with the run defense in just the schematic aspect, but also in tackling. Very physical guy, big in stature. He's not going to shy away from blocks. And he's going to come up and be forceful in that regard. But obviously the pass defense is really where he makes his money. And, of course, that's going to be the case. But I also think he is not going to be a liability in the run game whatsoever. Now, the next question from Deluxe. Do you think Crowder gets activated to fill the open 53rd spot this week, Hall?
Ooh, that's a good question. Just based off of Quinn's comments whenever he was asked about it today, I would say that I'd lean 60-40, yes, that he'll get activated and be on the roster this week just because we've seen in the past where guys get activated and within that same time frame of that week they're on the field on Sunday playing, whether it be a couple reps, a couple snaps, or full go action. But I do think that I can't remember exactly what he said because I was listening to it earlier, but I do think that just kind of reading the tea leaves based on what he said, they're gonna, like he said his typical. We're gonna take it slow. We're gonna make sure he hits every single mark. Da 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 da, like he does with every single injury and every single player. But I just feel like the tone that he said it in was more of like he's trending toward being back, but we're gonna play it out. We're gonna see how it is towards the end of the week, but he's trending toward being back, and it's gonna be huge because we need if he can get on the field to get some snaps at slot receiver, that'll help the offense out. But definitely as a returner in the punt return game as well is going to be huge.
Absolutely. The slot wide receiver aspect is going to be huge. Jamison Crowder, even last year, was proving to be a really vital piece of this offense in extending the chains. And obviously, Noah Brown was a dependable asset. Without him, it's going to be difficult in the passing game, but let alone in the running game. He was a fantastic blocker going back to that Brian Robinson run against the Titans for 39 yards. Noah Brown is out there on the outside, sealing out that corner, and that's probably going to be the biggest asset that you're going to have to replicate. If this is a time for Diami, for Luke McCaffrey to really shine, this is your stage. You got to dance like Michael. You got to sing like Whitney. You got to take advantage of this situation and do the best with it. And so hopefully they go into this with the right mindset because Quinn talked about they have a quality depth at that position. I agree with him. We have untapped potential. We got to be able to go in there and reach it and actually find out what we have in the cupboard. And so this is a chance to really do so. And I know they'll answer the call, but I think Crowder will ultimately get that roster spot. I think the kick return and punt return is obviously huge in this regard. You're going to have to lean more on Alamati. You're going to have to lean on Luke McCaffrey and others. And also we can't discount that Austin Eckler being out. So McNichols is going to have to contribute probably a little bit more, right? And so you're going to have to lean on him, and you want to make sure that he's healthy. Don't want to put him in more stressful situations, and we know what Crowder can do as a returner. So I think that's obviously one that you have to go into thinking about. Now the next question that we do have is from Meast. Hall, who is the most deserving to make the Pro Bowl on offense, defense, and special teams?
What up, Meese? It's been a minute.
Yes.
Special teams, well, I would say Cyber, but he's on IR now because he was having a pretty damn good season before the injury. So, I mean, I got to go All-Pro Revo. I just feel like every time you look down on kick returns or kickoffs and kick coverage when we're kicking the ball off two teams, when they actually do run the ball back, I feel like 39 is always one of the first guys down there. He's always around the ball. He's always the guy that flashes for special teams, and I mean the name says it all. He's All-Pro Revo, so I would say he gets a Pro Bowl vote. Offense, obviously, you got to go with Terry. He's having a breakout season. I know because he had the bye week, he went from 3rd to 8th in receiving yards. So Terry, and then defense, got to go with Luvu. This dude's bring the energy. He's just flashed all over the screen, and yeah, he's just a dude that. I knew coming into the season that he was going to be a guy who's going to stand out on the defense and he's going to bring high energy, but I didn't think it was going to be like this. The dude is, like I said, he's a beast. I feel like he's like our
8 sacks.
Yeah, he's like our new kind of like our new London Fletcher type linebacker where it's like the heart and soul of the defense and just a knowledgeable guy all over the field making plays. And hopefully, I know we signed him on a 3-year deal. Hopefully, he's here beyond these next couple years.
Yeah, special teams, obviously, it's Jeremy Reeves. Special shout-out to Tress Way. I think Tress Way is a holder. Definitely deserves it, obviously, given his chances.
Best holder in the league.
Been punting more in the back end of the season. Hopefully we can make sure that is changed up like it was earlier in the season.
Hey, you know what? He's smart. He was like, you know what, guys? Hey, offense. I'm trying to get my Pro Bowl votes up. Like, I'm trying to, get my name out there. Let me get a little bit of shine on the fields. So
right. So
commendable the offense.
Obviously, Jeremy Reeves has been a trendsetter, has been a lightning rod for that special teams. Nick Bellore himself has done a very good job ever since we've got him from Seattle, claimed him. But so I think those guys are easy to do. But I also will say Tyler Owens. He has been an absolute difference maker. Forcing that fumble against the Titans was obviously huge, and his presence in a game planning aspect has been huge. People have been double teaming him all season long on kickoff and punt return. So I think that
He's the gunner, right? Yeah.
yeah. So he's definitely somebody that deserves that nod, so to speak, if I were to say. Now, defensively, I think it's Dante Fowler, of course, deserves a nod, having 8.5 sacks, really resurging himself. Jeremy Chin coming through, having an interception, of course, but Dante Fowler having a touchdown. Jeremy Chin doing really, really well for this defense and showing himself what he's doing. Obviously, Bobby Wagner deserves it. I think we know that by now. Mikey is not that far away. I would be willing to go farther, say Mikey deserves it. We just need a little bit more, Mikey, just a little bit more turnovers, and we can make that happen for you. You know what I'm saying? But I'll always root for Mikey in that regard. Offensively, it's the entire offensive line. I think that they deserve it at this point. You can't go wrong with my boy back here, Mr. 17. You've already said it very well. Jayden Daniels, of course, but you can't forget about the big B-Rob having a career year, really showing himself and who he is. And I think Austin Eckler deserves a nod as well. Austin Eckler has been fantastic for this football team, and I hope he gets better and he's well. But those are mine that I'll pick. And there's so many guys I think on this team that deserve it, just based on what they've done this year. And Alfred kind of talking about that camaraderie that they had as a team in 2012 is what was really probably the key for them. That's what this football team obviously has. And I think there's a lot of people that deserve the recognition. It's just hard to do so in this day and age. Now, the next question that we have is from Tim Towner. What one thing is needed for Washington to win the Super Bowl? Trick question. The answer is simply to make the playoffs, obviously.
Yeah, that's true. Once you get in, anything can happen. To make the Super Bowl, do you say make it or win it?
To make the Super Bowl.
Make the Super Bowl. You're gonna need your defense to step up and start playing what they call championship defense, where you're gonna have to be able to stop the run because you got teams like Philly and Detroit here you're gonna have to go through to get to the Super Bowl, which obviously two best run games in the league. So yeah, I would say that the defense would have to step up and start playing at a top five-ish level and within stopping the run because, I mean, obviously Detroit, they got weapons all over the place. They can beat you any type of way they want. But a team like Philly, if you stop Saquon, I feel like you severely level the playing field when you stop a guy like Saquon, especially with Jalen Hurts kind of struggling with it right now. A.J. Brown and him beefing, Devontae Smith, and these guys are kind of getting upset with the offense and with Jalen Hurts. So I would say that the defense would have to step up and stop the run at the top 5 level to be able to compete with a team like Detroit and Philly to get to the Super Bowl.
My man, I think forcing turnovers is, if you really want to get that next level, forcing turnovers very often, this is a very good time for Washington to kind of pick that up. But obviously, first and foremost, it's just staying true to who they are. They are not a team that is built on superstars like these other teams. They don't have the ability to lean on these certain guys at all times. What they have done, their strength, is the entire team in itself. Special teams coming through, defense coming through playing as one, and offense kind of working with one another. If they continue to play complementary football in all 3 phases, they're putting themselves in a very, very good situation to win football games. So week in, week out, just play complementary football, and we'll see where this rides. You know, they are in the driver's seat. They're writing their own story. They have the ball in their court. However you want to finish this off, it's up to you, man. And we'll see how far they do go. But ultimately, play complementary football and force turnovers, and that'll put this team in a very, very good position. Last thing before we go. Thank you, everyone, who submitted questions. Before I play the Paris interview, let's get our predictions for this game against the Saints. They are injury-riddled, obviously, everywhere offensively. Taysom Hill out. Chris Olave out, of course. They got Shaheed Talib out as well. Somebody else I'm forgetting. Derek Carr, obviously. So what do you think is going to happen? Brian Breesy, the Damascus graduate that went to my high school. Obviously, they have Cam still there. Chase Young's going to be making this, and John Ridgeway as well. How do you think this game's going to shape out?
Yeah, like you said, they're injury riddled, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Not a lot of weapons outside of a guy like Kamara, who still a good, really good running back in this league, especially in the Clint Kubiak system. I feel like it's kind of really rejuvenated his career in the sense of like the rushing yards, and he's still a threat out the backfield, a receiver as well, obviously. But uh, yeah, they have a stout defensive line. Like obviously Cam Jordan's up there in age, but he's still pretty damn good. They got Tyrann Mathieu in the backfield, who obviously can still do it at a pretty high level. Demario Davis is up there in age as well, but really good linebacker.
To your
I would,
point, the Saints defense are 8th in red zone conversion percentage, 14th in points per game, 28th in passing yards, 25th in rushing yards, and 9th on third downs.
boom. So yeah, they got a pretty stout, kind of like the similar to the Titans defense, where they got a pretty stout defense. The offense is kind of a work in progress because of the quarterback and the weapons around him, but stout defense can hold you to minimal points if need be. And I think that it goes similar to the Titans game, not where they're just going to come out from snap one and just
Right.
slap them around. But I would say that just for the efficiency they have on offense right now, I think the defense is really kind of hitting their stride. I think last week was a confidence builder for the offense and the defense, or I guess 2 weeks ago was a confidence builder for the offense and the defense. So I think that it's not going to be, like I said, it's not going to be a just belt to ass like they did to the Titans, but it will be a pretty decisive win. I'll go Washington. I think they put up 30 on them. I'll go Washington 30, New Orleans. I'll give them 13.
13. I'll go with 31-10. I do think that it's going to be the ground and pound aspect because of Chase Young having his best game of the year this past week, getting a game ball from interim head coach. I think that being able to keep them at bay, especially
That
at
means he's going to
defensive,
take this week off, so he's good.
so just being able to, he's going to have revenge, but he's going to want revenge, so to
Run the
speak.
ball right at him
But
all game.
getting back to the identity, allowing yourself to run the football effectively. Matthew Paris said being able to contain mobile quarterbacks has been an issue for the Saints this year. Allowing the running game to really be the pressure gauge there and forcing things to happen and then using play action off of that. That's going to be key. And so I think Washington does win, but the big point here is being able to force turnovers. Especially in this type of game where you don't know what's going to happen at quarterback, you cannot allow the Cooper Rush aspect to come back and bite you. You know what I mean? Being able to be dissected. You got to force turnovers and put them in pressurized situations so your guys like Frankie Louvu, Dante Fowler can go to town and really get some double-digit sacks. See, that's what we really need. All right, everybody. Well, now let's listen to the Paris interview, and I'll touch back with you guys afterwards. Hello, everybody, and now we are joined by old friend of this show. After he wanted to, travel down south like LeBron from Cleveland down to Miami, he went down to New Orleans. Mr. Matthew Paris, thank you for joining me this evening, Matt. How you doing?
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks. Nice talking to you again.
Yes, sir. And look, it's a pretty big matchup for Washington, and obviously the Saints season hasn't gone as well as they've obviously have hoped to. But this is a huge matchup for Washington where they can't stumble this weekend, especially. So the big question up front is Derek Carr obviously had a fracture, I think, to his non-throwing hand. They're not going to put him on IR, but the big question is, who are they going to start at quarterback? I'm sure you're not going to know until press conferences and everything, but in your opinion, who do you think gets a start this weekend for New Orleans?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. If you had asked me right after the game, I would have said Jake Kaner. That's who's been their backup most of the season. But Darren Rinsley, the interim coach, had an opportunity to kind of say yesterday that Hainer was going to be the guy, but he left it open-ended. And the last time that Derek Carr missed an extended stretch this season, he missed 3 games with an oblique injury. They went to Spencer Rattler. Now, the reason I thought they were going to go to Hainer this time around is because both of them are young quarterbacks. Rattler struggled and his opportunity was uneven. And so I thought just kind of naturally the front office and the coaching staff would want an extended look at Hainer now. But they're keeping it a little open-ended. My gut would still say Hainer, but if it is Rattler, I wouldn't be surprised. But just to give you a concrete answer, I guess I would lean Hainer, but that's just more gut feel necessarily than absolute knowledge of it.
I got you. And I saw that Ben DiNucci had put on Twitter today that he was the source that he signed with the Saints, I guess in a more of like a backup role, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would imagine that's a practice squad spot. They had 2 spots open after they signed a pair of receivers to the practice squad to the active roster, and they signed a safety yesterday or cornerback, and then I would assume the last spot was DiNucci, but I don't know. We'll find out shortly here if that was the active roster, the practice squad, but I would imagine it's the practice squad.
Okay. Now let's get into the overall status of the Saints. What is the strength of the Saints? Brian Breesy, who obviously had a huge game this past weekend, it went to Damascus, where Reed and I went to here from Montgomery County. And so we obviously know him very well. My sister and brother-in-law actually went to school with him. So, but what would you say right now is the strength of the Saints team?
Yeah, I actually think it's their offense for a change. Normally, it was for a long time their defense. After Drew Brees retired,
Right.
it was their defense. Dennis Allen had kept that unit respectable, but they've really fallen off this season. And they hired Clint Kubiak in the offseason. Alvin Kamara's had kind of a resurgent year. He's actually on track to rush for 1,000 yards for the first time in his career. He's received a ton of touches, and they've done a really nice job of getting him involved and using him in different creative ways. And so, yeah, I would say the run game is kind of the first and foremost thing that comes to mind with them. And then their defense has been uneven. It's pretty bad, but it has played a little bit better of late.
So would you say that the weakness of the team, if we had to go in like a very peculiar, like not peculiar, but a very detailed kind of sense, is it like the secondary? Is it the middle of the defense? What would you say is like kind of the weakness of the Saints?
I would say the run defense first and foremost, defensive tackles. Brian Burzy he leads the team in sacks as a defensive tackle, but not the best run defender. The other 2 defensive tackles are fine players, but again, not absolute stoppers. They don't really have kind of a fearsome pass rusher on the edge. We can talk about Chase Young if you want. And then it's really the run defense. And God, if Jayden Daniels, I think his career high is 88 rushing yards in the NFL. I think this would be the matchup to break that, because they really, really struggle against mobile quarterbacks.
Okay.
And so I think Jayden can probably carve them up there.
Oh, my man. Absolutely love to hear that. I did not know that. But besides Kamara, who were some of the weapons, playmakers on offense? I saw Keandre Miller had a touchdown this past weekend. Obviously, the Saints really missed Taysom Hill, who somehow or another continues to find ways onto the football field and score points for the Saints. But without him and Kamara, who would you say are some playmakers that Washington has to keep in mind about?
Yeah, well, they're also missing their 2 receivers, Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. That would be the next guys in that batting order. The guy who's had like an actual real interesting season for them, and he's only been on the roster for like 4 weeks, is Marquez Valdez-Scantling. After Buffalo released him after the Amari Cooper trade, New Orleans snatched him up, and he's done a really nice job of being that speed threat that Shaheed and Olave provided. I mean, he had a touchdown in each of his first 4 games. Is that deep threat. Didn't really do that much last week, but you could tell the way the Giants are playing. It was 2 high safeties trying as much as possible to eliminate that threat. So I think defenses now are starting to pay attention more to him, but he's had some pretty successful chemistry here with Derek Carr and as that deep threat.
Yeah, and that's something that Washington would have to take in consideration, because the deep threat has been an issue up until this point. But that being said, Washington is probably getting back Marshawn Lattimore after the trade, the first game coming back against his former team. Can you give us some insight into what kind of transpired with Lattimore? Obviously, he sent out, I think, an IG post saying that he still loves the city of New Orleans and all the fans and everything. But what kind of happened with that trade? And I think Adam Peters was saying he really respected the GM for being open and honest about the entire situation.
Yeah. Now, to give some context here, the Saints, they explored trading him in the offseason. Now, whether that was actively shopping him or listening to offers. It seemed like they were kind of open with him in
Okay.
terms of maybe they were going to move on. They reworked his contract late last season. That kind of made him easier to trade in terms of working some money around. And so that kind of signaled to teams that he was available now. He wasn't traded at the time. They didn't really find a deal. But, Mickey Loomis told reporters here that they weren't going to trade him for nothing. And him and Dennis Allen had a conversation, him being Marshawn Lattimore, had a conversation about how they kind of needed to fix through some things and buy in the commitment. So he had been playing really well when he was healthy. Was kind of having a bounce back season because of all the injuries last year, but he was their one trade asset. And as the season started to go south, they had a 7-game losing streak. He was the one guy that was going to fetch a return, and I actually thought New Orleans did a great job getting a better return than I even thought was possible. And I thought they did really well for themselves. I understand why Washington did it, especially given the surprise of their season, and the secondary there wasn't panning out. But he was the guy that was going to fetch stuff, and so I think the Saints took a look at it and said, all right, well, this makes sense. Who knows if we'll rebuild necessarily, but it's a guy to give us at least more draft assets to be a little bit more flexible. So I think it made sense for them to part ways.
Absolutely. And of course, with all their injuries, it almost seems like both sides are leaving that deal happy. But that being said, you talked about Lattimore and how well he had been doing this season. I think for Washington fans, like we can always look back at the previous years and everything, but kind of just give us a little bit of a description of what Lattimore brings to you defensively. Because Washington, we're really eager and excited to be able to see what he offers.
Yeah, great press man corner, very patient. Just when he's on the field, teams don't really throw to him. I mean, he has been that at his absolute prime. He was a guy people avoided left and right, a dominant player, still very good. When he was on the field last year, wasn't as sharp. He's a guy that this actually isn't necessarily the right matchup for him, but the way I like to talk about him is he's a guy that absolutely rises to the cream of the crop. You look at his battles with Mike Evans. Mike Evans, as good as he is, did not have a lot of success in that matchup. Their battles are well known. Maybe one of the last true these guys hate each other rivalries in the NFL, and does a really great job of just rising and trying to shut down that opposing team's best corner or best receiver now when it's maybe Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He's not as sharp maybe as he needs to be, but they traded for him to they have AJ Brown in the division, they have CeeDee Lamb. These are the guys that he can go against, and in terms of Brown was not healthy that game, so I was gonna say they've already faced Philadelphia this season. But anyway, he's that guy that I think can be that shutdown cornerback for them.
My man, absolutely music to my ears, Matthew. But now a couple more questions for you, in particular this game, but overall, obviously you left Washington in the summer, and it's been a whirlwind of a time change ever since that you have left. What are the differences? Obviously, it's easy to see the record, but coming from the Rivera era to now, what are the differences that you see from an outside perspective now of Washington?
To quote Rivera, quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Jayden Daniels is a huge part of it. But it's not all of it either. I mean, they blew up the roster. Most of those guys from the last year I was there. I was only there 5 games last season. I made the switch mid-season.
Has it really been that long? My goodness, I'm sorry, man. I thought it was
yeah,
the summer.
yeah. No, it's okay. It's been about a year and change now. But most of those, I think it's very, very telling that not only was the roster shaken up, but look at what Adams Peters did with the 3 first-round picks consecutive. Emmanuel Forbes cut. Jamin Davis, that's the wrong order. Jahan Dotson traded. Jamin Davis cut. All those guys are gone, and you look at them. I mean, Jamin Davis had a sack for Minnesota this this past week, but God, like I brought this up with Standig the other day. Who do you think has had the best season after leaving Washington of all those guys? Like, it might be Cody Barton. Cody Barton was terrible in Washington. Like, none of those guys that they've let go, they've really regretted. And so I think Adam Peters deserves a lot of credit for looking at this roster for what it was and taking an axe to it.
Yeah, certainly the Rams did not help out Emmanuel Forbes with that video. We'll tell you that right now. I respect the kid. I wish him the best. It's just they didn't help him out that much, man.
Yeah. Well, even Cam Curl, they played the Saints a few weeks ago, and just a very Cam Curl-like game. Quiet, like good, but just not that safety that I think a lot of, he didn't get that contract that a lot of people thought he would. I just think because he doesn't make those splash plays time and time again.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, look, I was one of those people. I'm a huge Cam Curl supporter. Obviously, I wish him the best out in L.A., but with Jeremy Chin here, it's kind of hard to be able to argue against that move. Now, what do they have to do in order to win this football game, Paris? Based on what you've seen with New Orleans this season, with all the rash of injuries, what do they have to do in order to win?
Yeah, I think that the main thing is lean on Brian Robinson, lean on Jayden Daniels to kind of have open up the thing because, besides the running game problems that New Orleans has had, they, for a long time this season, they were leading the league in 50-plus yard plays allowed. It's a group that really gives up explosive plays. Now, last time I looked at that stat, Houston and Jacksonville, I think, had passed them, but they're still right up there. That it's a defense that you can really kind of get a big one over on, and I think they'll have time to throw. The pass rush, like I said earlier, has been really inconsistent. It was actually pretty good against the Giants this past week, but it's as long as I was surprised Washington lost to Dallas a few weeks ago. With
you and I both, man.
Right, a lot of people were, but as long as they don't kind of have that mental letdown and they're sharp, I really think I would pick Washington even if Derek Carr was healthy, to be honest with you. I think this is a matchup that really suits Washington's favor.
My man. Last question I have for you. I have to ask it, Paris. How was Mardi Gras?
Dude, it was fun. It was a lot more like, you can drink if you want to, and you can do that, but there are just so many parades that it's like I don't feel like drinking today. It's just a really fun kind of atmosphere. A lot more family friendly that I realized, and it was cool. It was dressed up. They're seeing all the different parades, the different types of parades. There's like a satirical one that made fun of the Saints and made fun of Derek Carr. That was kind of funny. It's a really cool time of year, and I was glad when it was over because I was very tired from it. But now that it's it's maybe a month or two away, I'm like, oh, okay, Mardi Gras again. So
there you go, my man.
I'm looking forward to it,
my man. And last one, real quick. Did you have any new food down there that you do now love? Obviously, going down south, they cook different.
They do, yeah. I mean, Creole food's really good. There's this one restaurant here, Grigri, that does just an awesome chicken and dumplings. And I had chicken and dumplings in DC, but not quite like that. That is really good. So
I know Brian Mitchell is somewhere screaming right now, saying, "Absolutely, you're right, Paris."
I'm gonna try and see him. So we'll see.
Make sure you do. Make sure you say what's up to him. But Paris, I can't thank you enough for taking some time out for us. I forgot to include that now you're a part of the Times, Picayune, and the Advocate now. But before you get out of here, would you like to plug your social media handle?
Yeah, sure. You can follow me on Twitter at Matthew_Paris. I do most of my posting there. I have a Blue Sky account. It's actually just Matthew Paris, Blue Sky, whatever the handle is. But you can mostly find me on Twitter. That's where I'm most active.
My man, Paris, I can't thank you enough, man. It's been a long time. I really appreciate you for stopping by and giving us some insight into the Saints and Lattimore and everything else. Wish you the best, brother. Enjoy the game this weekend, all right?
Yeah, man, you too. Nice talking to you.
All right, brother. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in again. I just want to say thank you again to Alfred Morris. Thank you to everyone who contributed to this episode. This was one for the history books, one of my favorites that we've ever done. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you made it this far, you're a frickin' champion. I really appreciate you guys. And we'll enjoy the game this weekend in Washington. The Commanders hopefully walk away with the W against the New Orleans Saints. We'll see you guys again on Sunday. I'm Kyle, and we'll see you then. Washington football. Woo! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.